It's the beginning of December, and I still have 10 figures I haven't talked about to complete my goal of at least making a video on every figure I've received this year from the Black Series. So let's go ahead and knock out 6 of them. Why not? So as you can see here, I have the Skeleton Crew wave of Black Series figures. I've had them for a little bit. I got them, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago from Hasbro Pulse, just because that's happened to ship out earlier. Sorry, Amir. He did send me a text. He's like, do you want these? Like, I literally just got the whole wave from Pulse. I wanted to make a video on these sooner, but it just felt like not waiting for the show to air was doing the figures such a disservice. Because while I am a big proponent of buying figures just because they're cool, I think there's a little bit of a difference between having a connection to a figure and having context for a figure. And while I definitely didn't have a connection with any of these characters until I saw the show, now I also have context of who they are, how they fit in the story, and also, yeah, now I like them. And that makes all the difference. So let's go ahead and take a look at all of the first wave of Skeleton Crew figures. And as of the recording of this today, we did get SM33 Pipeline, voiced by the amazing Nick Frost. He has a missing eye, a peg leg, and a mouse living in his head. What's not to like? So here we have the 6 figures that are released so far in the Skeleton Crew wave. Now, if you're curious about the release pattern for this year, if you noticed the beginning of the year there weren't a lot of figures, it's because these figures were supposed to be out at the beginning of the year when the show was. But it got delayed, so the figures got delayed, leading them to be released at the end of the year, which made the end of 2024 feel like we got a bunch at once, and we did, because we should have gotten these a lot longer ago. That's not really Hasbro's fault, but it does still suck. I was apprehensive about this, and like I said at the beginning, I wasn't excited to review these figures because I kind of didn't really know anything about them. And other than Brutus here and Neel, I just didn't think any of them looked interesting. Like, they're just kids. Like, sure, she's got a cool visor thing like Geordie LaForge, but they're just kids. He's just a dude. He's just Jude Law. I mean, he's a cool pirate alien, and he's a cool little elephant boy. And the part of me that just loves aliens are in on that, but the humans are boring. So I felt that it was a disservice to talk about these without having any knowledge of the show. So with that being said, if you want to stay unspoiled for the first 2 episodes of the show, come back later, because I will have full spoilers for the beginning of the show, which isn't really much, honestly. It's just the first 2 episodes. I spoil the premise. I do have some theories, which I think are very obvious theories. You know, we'll get into that later. So in this wave, we have Jod Na Nawood, who's played by Jude Law. I don't know who plays any of the kids, and honestly, I don't care. They're kids. But Neel, who is still my favorite after seeing the show, is... man, I thought that this kid was going to be me when I was a kid, because he starts off the show playing action figures and whatnot, but I 100% was this dopey, nerdy-ass, chubby kid as a kid, and I've never identified more with a Star Wars character than watching the show and seeing Neel here. But he's not a Max Rebo, an Ortolan. He's a different alien. He's just an alien kid. He's just an elephant-looking dude. We'll get into more of him later. Wim, who I thought was kind of going to be the star leader of the show, and he kind of is, but he's kind of an idiot. And I love that about him. He's clearly just a kid. Like, he is the definition of just a stupid kid who doesn't think about anything that they're doing, what the consequences are. He's just there in the moment. And a lot of it comes down to just him being kind of naive and unexperienced, ignorant, and a little dumb. And I love that. Fern is a character that I didn't really expect to like as much as I did, but she's a fun character. She's got this like kind of almost mean streak about her where she likes to make up stories. She's a natural leader. She's really good. I really do think that she's a great character. And then someone who I had no feelings for, and she kind of is the lesser of the four in the show, but KB, I really like her. Like, she doesn't say a lot, but with her like facial expressions and her cool little like cyborg tech stuff, I did like her more than I was expecting to. So I'm glad I'm doing this as a review after seeing it, because I do have context for the kids. And then, of course, you know, here's the thing about Pirate Captain Brutus. He doesn't need any context. He is a wolf pirate. He's an alien wolf pirate. That's what he is in the show. That's what he is here on the as an action figure. And that's it. That he is a surface level. He is what he is. And I love it. One of the things I love about the show is how hard they're leaning into pirate aesthetics, but like traditional American, like not American, but traditional Earth pirate aesthetics, but translating that into space and Star Wars. And I love it. Let's get into the figures, starting with Jod Na Nawood. So here we have Jod. Again, kind of a dumb name. I don't like it. I really, really don't like it. It's the Na in the middle of the Nawood. Jod Na Nawood. I don't really get it. I don't know if they're really trying to hide the fact that this is clearly the captain from the beginning of the first episode, who is definitely not Long John Silver, and also not a Cobra Viper, who, first of all, we definitely need an action figure of Captain Silva. If it is Jod Na Nawood, you know, pre-mutiny, we need a figure of that, because I love that look. I love the Cobra Viper mask with basically a pirate hat, a tricorn hat on it. This is number one in the line. We have the Skeleton Crew logo here on the side. We looked at the mural on the back. All of these have the same thing, so I'm only going to read this once. Since it's the first wave in the series, this is more just a generic overview of the show instead of character specific. So it says, when four kids make a mysterious discovery on their seemingly safe home planet, they get lost in a strange, dangerous galaxy, and finding their way home will be a greater adventure than they ever imagined. That's the box for Jod Na Nawood. Let's go ahead and get Jod out of his packaging here. There we go. So here we have Jod out of the box, and I have to say, like, I like it. He just has this sort of roguish Han Solo type feel, and that's the second one we've gotten this year with the Cassian Andor. I always dig that sort of character where it's just a dude. He's just a dude. He's not a cool looking alien or anything, but he's got that roguishness about him that you just love. Like, he's got a style, he's got a flair. And again, we don't know anything about this character. In fact, in the first two episodes of the show, he's only appeared in the last like minute of the second episode of the show. Again, if you don't subscribe to my theory that he's also the pirate Captain Silva from the beginning of the show, I just feel like he's going to be like Long John Silver from Treasure Island, or Muppet Treasure Island, if that's your speed. It's my speed. If that's also your speed, that's cool too. But I dig everything about this. I love the jacket. The face looks pretty good. In fact, let's take a closer look at the face here. I feel like it's pretty good for being Jude Law. Jude Law just kind of has one of those, in my opinion, he's got a plain face. That's just kind of Jude Law's thing. I just want to talk about the coat a little bit here, because it's a good looking coat. It's a good pirate coat. It's a coat we haven't seen before. It's got this really cool kind of grid work on the lapel and on the collar. It's all molded nicely. There's not really a lot of paint on it, but there is paint work on the sleeves and on the pocket here. It's sort of this intricate sort of filigree type look, which I think looks really, really nice. It's a coat we haven't seen him wear in the show, but he's definitely pirate-esque here. One of the things I do want to point out that the illusion is broken when you pull back his sleeves because his arms obviously are part of the jacket, whereas they're not part of the shirt. So it kind of breaks the illusion here because you see that stark contrast, but it's fine. The shirt looks good with the jacket closed, and that's all you really ever see. Down here at his waist, we do have a really nice sculpted belt with some nice little painted detail, sculpted detail on the buckle here and on whatever this, because this isn't the buckle, this is the buckle. I don't know what this is. It's just a design. I don't know, but that's the buckle. That's not the buckle. So, but it's good. We also have a separate holster. Now this part looks painted to me. It's just got that kind of shine that paint usually has. But it's also like it's painted here as well. And then on the pants, we have some nice sort of Han Solo-esque cargo pants going down. There's a little stripe, and there's actually a nice sort of pattern molded into the pants where it's kind of it's like the fabric has pattern itself. It's not just the folds and the creases, but it's maybe hard to pick up on camera. But there's actually a small little texture to the plastic as well, detailing on the pants. And then of course he's got his definitely pirate boots, and that's one of my favorite things about the show so far is they lean into like earth pirate sort of aesthetics, and I just really dig that. I dig that a lot. I do want to go over his articulation just real quick here. We have the newer style double hinged neck and head. So there's a lot of really good movement there. He does have a butterfly joint at the shoulder. He's got a pretty good bend at the elbow. He does have a swivel as well as a hinge. It looks like we've got ball joint wrists. That's something we haven't seen in a little bit, but he does have ball joint wrists. He also does seem to have ball joint shoulders. So it's not just butterflies going back and forth, but it's all up and down. So we have basically what Hasbro's been going for with the new arms, which I want them to do with every figure. So a ball joint at the shoulder, so it goes up, down, and back and forth, and then a ball joint at the wrist, so it can move any way you want it to, not just left, right, or up, down. So that's good. And we have the same thing going on over here, so that's not different. The only difference is this is sculpted. Actually, they're both sculpted to have trigger fingers. So whatever hand you want him to be holding a pistol in, you can. And of course, he's wearing these gloves. There's some good detailing on them. But I'm not talking about detailing. I'm talking about articulation. He's got a good waist rotation, which is pretty nice. He has forwards and backwards on the leg. There is no upper thigh cut. That's something that Hasbro has gotten rid of on newer figures, is the thigh cut. He's got that single jointed knee as well as the swivel there. And then of course he has a hinge and a rocker at the ankle. And man, I really need something for him to stand on, because I think that he's got that Captain Morgan pose. I wish I had something on hand for him to stand on that was about that height. Yeah, there we go. You can stand on Yoda's chair. I'm sure he's not using it right now. With this being his widest stance, with both his feet flat on the ground. So what does Jod Na Nawood, again, terrible name, but what does he come with? Well, first, he comes with this scarf thing, which I absolutely hate, and I will never be displaying with it on. Honestly, if he didn't come with this, I wouldn't complain. He is wearing it, as far as I can tell, in the first time we see him in the second episode, but he's not wearing this. He's wearing like chains and stuff, but if you want to put it on, it does just slip over his head. I'm assuming he's doing it to sort of disguise himself. So if you want to wear it, you can. I think it looks terrible. It's not a cool look at all. Like it's sort of a grandma babushka. Yeah, no thanks. But thankfully, that's not the only thing he comes with. He does come with this really cool little pistol. It's not a blunderbuss, but it is an older style kind of like pirate blaster. And there's actually some pretty decent paint on here. We've got paint on the barrel. We've got paint on the little chamber here and on the handle. There's a lot of great sculpt work, a lot of great detailing in here. It does fit nicely into his hand. So if you want to display him holding it, you can. But of course, he does have a holster for it. And I actually think it looks pretty cool in that holster. I wish he came with a sword. Like, maybe not a lightsaber. I know there's the illusions in the show that he is a Jedi. I don't think he's going to end up being one. I think he's playing a trick. But in the first time we see him in the show, he does float keys over to him and he says things that sound very Jedi-like. However, he knows that one of the kids, Whim, is like obsessed with Jedi. So it would make sense that he's sort of playing a con on them. He's a quick thinker, but I just feel like he's so close to just being such a good-looking pirate. If he had a hat and a sword, this would just literally be a pirate. So maybe we'll get a nice third party. I don't know. Maybe I'll find something for him and I could turn him into a pirate. But he's there. Like, he is a pirate. And I do like that. All right. Moving on. Next, we have everyone's favorite baby boy, Neel. Starting off, I knew Neel was going to be my favorite just because I like aliens and he is a fun looking alien. But after seeing the first 2 episodes, I identify with Neel. I was this kid. I was the kid in class who was a little smart, really shy, had a crush on a girl, and didn't want to get in trouble, but somehow ended up getting in trouble anyways. I was Neel, 100%, straight down to the comb over. Because believe me when I say, at one point, I had hair. Anyways, we have Neel in package here. It does say from Attin, which is their mythical planets that they're from. We've seen the side. Again, the back is the same. There's not a lot to really go over here. So let's go ahead and get him out of his package. There we go. In hand. He's just as good as I hoped he would be. I mean, let's start off with this incredible head sculpt. So like I said, he's not an ortolan. He's just like an elephant-like species. He's an ortolan-like species, but he's not the same as Max Rebo. They just have superficial similarities. He does have this incredible little tuft of hair on his head, a little parted to the side. His eyes are incredibly lifelike. There's some great painting and shading down into his trunk, which he does not speak from. Moving down, he's wearing overalls. He kind of looks a little bit like Chucky, a little bit. Or I don't know, like my buddy. He's got these overall things going on. They have there's a nice coloring to them. The little buckles at the top are painted. There's a lot of great detail and texture on both the overalls and the shirt underneath. And there's a little paint bleed on here, so you can tell that it's painted on the back. But on the front, it looks sharp, and that's really what matters. It's a little sloppy on the back, but that's fine. There's not a lot going on his arms. Like, his hands have the same great painting and shading that the head does, so they match, and that's good. But the arms themselves, other than just the sculpt work that matches the shirt, that's really all there is. The belt is really nice. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of paint on the belt, all these little gadgets and doodads. I don't know what any of these are, but he's got like spots for stuff that we'll get into later. He's got this little piece sculpted on. Again, everything's really nicely painted. And then moving down, same kind of deal with his legs. They're just part of his overall, so they match that part right there. But there's no paint on the legs anywhere. But then he's got these, cute little these cute little shoes, little Doc Martens or whatever. I don't know what these are. They look like work boots, and I dig it. I dig all of this. This looks so good. I really like this. Real quick, the articulation, there's not a ton here, but he does move at the head. It's just a single joint. He doesn't have any butterfly joints or anything at the shoulder. He does have a decent bend at the elbow as well as a swivel. He does not have a ball joint wrist like Jod does. So there's that. This one is hinged vertically. This one is hinged horizontally. He does have a decent twist at the waist. His legs are, he's a chubby little kid, so his legs can only move so far, and I fully get that. So he's not going to be pulling off a lot of like Spider-Man poses, but for what he is, getting stuck in a hole, it's just going to happen like that. And then of course he does have movement at his ankles, as well as a little bit of a rocker. With that being his widest stance with both his feet flat on the ground, because the rockers aren't great. But again, for this little kid, I think that's fine. So what does little Neel come with? He actually comes, I think he comes with a decent amount of stuff, considering that I just earlier this year looked at Anakin Skywalker, who just came with a backpack. So does Neel, but Neel's backpack is better. It has a lot more detailing. It has a lot more sculpting, a lot more paintwork. In fact, you can see Anakin's backpack right here. So it's pretty bare bones and basic compared to what Neel's working with. So I like that. And that's one of the things I did notice about Neel in the show is Neel's family is very well kind of put together. Like he has a stable family, whereas like Wim doesn't. Like his dad is very always absent kind of thing. And his mom is out of the picture, it looks like. Poor little Wim's mostly alone, and Neel's got, brothers and sisters and mom and dad and kind of a more traditional family home. But there's a lot of great detailing on here, but that's not all that Neel comes with. He does come with a nice little flashlight, which I think is a really cool addition. There's a lot of paint work. There's some detailing and paint at the tip on the middle here, and then again at the tip here. I wish that this was painted kind of yellow, but I don't know, it's fine because it's not always on, and if it were painted yellow, it might always look on. I love that he comes with a flashlight. It definitely goes in with the sort of Goonies vibe that they're going for. He also does come with a walkie-talkie, which in the show, only he and Wim both have walkies, so that makes sense. He is Jedi 2. There's a lot of sculpting and painted detail work, of course. And then lastly, he comes with this little bit, which looks like a pair of binoculars, but I have to say, we haven't really seen him use them to my knowledge. I did only watch it the one time, but I don't remember him using these in the episodes we've seen so far, but they do look like binoculars. And then all of this has a place. So this has a place on the back right here. So that can sit on the back and it matches this other little piece, but that is removable. He's got a spot for his walkie-talkie that pegs onto here. And then let's get the backpack on. It's kind of hard with his big head and his ears. There we go. I was a little worried about how things would fit on, but they fit on just fine. Like everything's fine on there. How are you? But then lastly, we do have a little spot for his flashlight. It just kind of sticks out of the backpack like that, which I think is a really cool detail. Again, the Anakin Skywalker we got has just got a backpack that doesn't open, and that's it. Whereas Neel here, not only does he come with a lot of different accessories, and that's probably why he's leaning a little bit forward to offset kind of his big backpack, but it looks fine when he's wearing the backpack. He doesn't really have any stability issues here. But he's got his walkie there. He's got his little binoculars back there. He's got his little flashlight in the backpack, and it's holding it. It looks like it's naturally there. They've sculpted it in a way where it just kind of sticks out of this little pouch, and it's a little angle. So, that's great. I absolutely love this. Hasbro knocked it out of the park with Neel. What a great little guy. All right, moving on, we have number 3 in our Skeleton Crew wave. We've got Wim, who again, I thought was going to be the main character. And he kind of is, but he's also real dumb. And I like that about him. It's a fun little, I don't know, it's a good character for him. I do like it. He just wants adventure. He desperately wants to be a Jedi, a protector, but he's also a dumb kid. Dumb in the sense that he's a kid and he's ignorant because he doesn't really know how the world works, but also dumb because he's a little dumb. Anyways, the back is the same, so we're not going to read it. I'm just kind of going around here. Let's go ahead and let's get Wim out of his packaging because there's no reason to really take a lot of time talking about this. There we go. Okay, so here's Wim out of the package, and I gotta say right off the bat, I don't like him as much, and there's two reasons why. One's bigger than the other. Maybe three reasons why. As a toy, I don't like this figure as much as I like, say, Neel. And let's get into it, starting with his looks. I think they nailed the hair. Let's just get that out of the way. They absolutely nailed the hair. No problem. The hair is bushy enough, puffy enough, all that. What they didn't nail, in my opinion, is the face. I don't think this looks like the little actor who plays Wim at all. I think his face is really chubby. Whereas in the show, he's a skinny little kid. He's got a thinner face. So I don't think that this looks like Wim even a little bit. Like I would, if I were the actor for this kid, I don't know his name again. I didn't look it up because I don't care about kid actors. But as it is right now, I can just looking at a picture of him, and I probably have his name on the screen. But this does not look like the kid to me at all. If you don't look specifically at it, sure, the silhouette, everything is nice. You can tell who the character is supposed to be. But, you know, it's 2024. We have digital face printing, sculpting, that people have an expectancy that it'll look like what it's supposed to on screen. I don't think they nailed this at all. That's just one of the things that I don't love about this figure. The second thing, and I'm just kind of jumping ahead a little bit to articulation, he's got a upper thigh swivel, which is weird because now it's out of place. Whereas, you know, Neel doesn't, Jod doesn't, but he does. So my first thought is, oh, are these older legs? But no, as far as I can tell, these legs have never been used before. And these little upper pieces, even though they kind of look like they belong to a different character, like they just sculpted basically from here down. But what money do you possibly save reusing this part of a figure and still having to sculpt the rest of it? Like I just don't get that. It's weird. I'm not complaining. I do like the thigh swivel. It's just weird that, you know, why does he have it and Neel doesn't? The other thing we'll get into in accessories, but for now, just kind of going down his jacket, he's got a couple little bits of paint which look good. There's not as much detailing, but he does have a smoother jacket than like Neel and Jod do. He does have a little sculpt work on the back here with these lines and whatnot. I do like the way that it's kind of layered. Like he's got this shirt, and then there's a torso, and then he's got an undershirt that's actually part of his lower body. So when you twist and move, like the shirt moves separately from the top layer, which I think is cool. But yeah, there's not a lot of paint here. I think this is painted, but this is not. Most of the jacket's not. Although we do have this nice little bit on his sleeve there. And then, of course, we have his legs, which there is a lot of sculpt work there. There's the cargo pockets and there's some sculpting on the sides. And he does have these fun little Velcro shoes, which I think is neat. But yeah, there's really not a lot of paint on here. Whereas on Neel, there was a bunch. And there was actually a decent amount on Jod as well. So it seems like poor Wim here got the short end of the stick in both sculpt work and in paint. So, you know, poor kid, but not the biggest deal. You know, his articulation's pretty similar to any other smaller character we've seen here. No butterfly joint at all. He does have a newer style neck, so he's got a lot of give there, whereas Neel had that big fat head, so it didn't have as much movement. He does have an okay amount of of bend at the elbow as well as a swivel. And having smaller wrists, he doesn't have a ball joint there. It's just a hinge. And then this one's hinged this way. As I showed off earlier, he does have a decent torso movement. He's got good leg movement here. And then, of course, he does have that swivel I talked about. He does have a single jointed leg, whereas it doesn't bend very far back. I feel like even Neel bent a little bit further back than that. He does have a hinge as well as a rocker on the foot, with that being his widest stance with both his feet flat on the ground. A little bit better than Neel, but, not great. What does little Wim here come with? Well, first, just like the other character, Neel, that we looked at, he does have a backpack, and it's a completely new backpack. It's got a decent amount of paint and sculpt work here. It's not as intricate or as detailed as Neel's, but it fits the character a little bit better. We have these little parts here painted, this little, looks like, I don't know, some kind of mechanical thing here on there painted. I don't know what this is. It hasn't been shown in the show if it's a thing from the show. And they haven't really made a big focus on their backpacks that I've seen. So it's harder to say what this is, but whatever it is, as far as I can tell, it does not come out. I give it as much gentle pressure as I'm willing to, trying to pull, but it does not pull out. So it's kind of in there. It looks like it should come out, but it does not. It does have a lot of painting on it. It looks like it's some kind of shovel, maybe like a foldable shovel and a trowel for digging. So I know they went out there to the spaceship or the Jedi Temple to dig. So it could have been something that he brought with him to do it, like the tools that he took from Neel's dad's house. But again, it's nothing that stood out in my mind when I was watching it. And I could not picture this in my head for the life of me. But, again, it's got decent sculpting and paint work, a lot more interesting than Anakin's, but not as interesting as Neel's. But I'm pretty sure it's probably screen accurate. I don't know. And just like Neel, he comes with a couple of extra things as well. He does have a flashlight, just like Neel does, which is, again, great. I love that he has a little flashlight, and there's a little bits of paint on here, which, again, more paint on here than I'm pretty sure that Wim has in general. He does have this little, looks like a spanner or a can opener or a wrench or something. And there's no paint on here, but I do think the whole thing is painted. I feel like that's paint on there instead of just being colored plastic, but it might just be colored plastic, but it does have a good shine to it. And then just like Neel, he has a walkie-talkie. It's very similar to Neel's, but you'll notice that there's no hole on the back, and we'll get into that right now because he does not have a place for this anywhere on here that I can tell, and it bugs me. It bugs me so much that he does not have a spot for this walkie-talkie. Let's go ahead and get the backpack on him. So the backpack looks pretty good on him, and he does have a couple little holes. So for the flashlight, it does just stick in there, and again, it looks good, like, a kid just kind of stuffing it in there and not zipping it all the way. And the same thing with this little spanner tool here. So he's got stuff sticking out of his backpack, which I like. But then he does not have a spot for the walkie-talkie. He just has a walkie-talkie. And I guess you can, obviously he can hold it, because what else would you do? Can't leave it behind. But I just really like it when characters have spots to store stuff. I like that. And it bugs me that he doesn't have a spot for the walkie-talkie. Other than that, he's fine. He's very mid. I definitely think that he's got the silhouette of Wim. Like, if you don't look at him too closely, you're like, yeah, that's Wim. That's Wim from the show. And, I didn't look too closely at him. And obviously, I hadn't seen the show. So you get to know a character a lot better when you see an hour and a half of him straight instead of little snippets. And I just don't think he looks a lot like Wim in the face. But everything else is good. It's just not great. It's good. It's just not great. So let's move on to the third kid, number 4 in the line. This is Fern, the feisty erstwhile captain of the skeleton crew. I do like her. She's just I don't know, rambunctious. She lies a lot. She likes to mess with people, which I think is a fun trait for a character to have, where she's just there to just mess with people, getting them off their guard, telling them stories, and she makes them believe it too, which I think is pretty cool. So that's Fern. Again, there's not a lot to talk about here. We've seen the side, we've seen the back, I've read the back. Let's just go ahead and get her out, right? All right. Okay, well, here we have Fern out of the package, and I have to say, like, there's just a lot going on here that I really like. First of all, I think her face, again, a little bit like Wim. It's not real close to the actor's likeness, and now I'm kind of wondering if maybe that's for like legal reasons or something, where they couldn't get them that close. I think hers is closer than Wim's is, but I still don't think it's spot on to what the head sculpt or what the actress looks like. But you know, it's fine. She's got a little hair in her ponytail, ponytail coming down, braided ponytail down there. But you know, she looks okay, I guess. But the jacket here is really cool. I'm always down with a good like bomber jacket, and that's what this reminds me of. One of the cool things about her is she is sort of she has a speeder bike, and that's like her thing, is racing. She obviously has a lot of pride. She's got a lot of good street sense about her, and she's a fast thinker. But yeah, there's a lot of great detailing on here. These little patches, a lot of great sharp paint lines on here, tons of paint work on this jacket, lots of great sculpting. Everything looks so good. I absolutely love all of this. The shirt underneath, there's some normal sculpt work and stuff on there. She does have the same kind of issue that Jod has, where she's got jacket arms, so it doesn't go up. And I guess Wim would have this too, but I didn't look. But it's not as noticeable because none of these kids have butterfly joints, so it's not a big deal. She does have on her pants, she has this little painted belt. She also does have like knee pads sculpted and painted on, because she does do a lot of just, you know, biking and stuff. So she's a lot more active. So I think that's kind of a fun, that's part of her normal look, is just wearing knee pads. They gotta look like little turtle shells to me. But yeah, there's some decent little, you know, sculpt work, like these little pockets and stuff. And she's got these boots. I really like the way she looks. I think the way she looks is great. Movement wise, we do have, you know, kind of the normal thing with the head, that double joint on the neck and the base of the shoulders. She does not have, like I said, the butterfly joint, just kind of normal arm movement. Her hand moves this way, this one, just like the other ones move that way. She's got a decent bend at the waist, where there's, you know, movement there. She can move outwards and backwards on the legs. And just like Wim, she has upper thigh swivel. So it's weird now. Jod and Neel, no thigh swivel. But Wim and Fern, yes, thigh swivel. So kind of weird. She does have a bend at the knee, and it is better than Wim's. So that's nice. And of course, a little swivel there. And then she does have, you know, some ankle movement here as well as a rocker, but the sculpt work does hinder that a bit. With that being her widest stance with both her feet flat on the ground, and that's really hindered a lot by the pants, and that's okay. Honestly, she's fine that way. But what does Fern come with? I'll tell you what she doesn't come with. She doesn't come with her little speeder bike. And I think it would have been more fun, instead of having KB and Fern as figures, if they had just released them with the speeder bike and just made that a whole set. I would have liked that a lot more. And if I could change anything about the Black Series, it would be small vehicles like that would be standard. We've got a couple this year with the Stap and the Blood Fin, which I haven't made videos on yet. I promise I will. But between this and K-Vess from Outlaws, who's also got a speeder, like, I feel like there's good speeders they've given us, that Star Wars has given us this year, that Hasbro could make into toys, and they just haven't yet. But what does she come with? Of course, she does have a backpack, and it's different from the other backpacks we've had. So, they're not just throwing the same backpack in. There's less paint on this than on the other two backpacks we've seen. There's still a lot of great sculpt work. There's this little medallion and this little patch right here that are painted, but that's it as far as paint goes. But I feel like her jacket sort of makes up for it. So we have that. And then, of course, she does have a little flashlight in there. Every flashlight we've had so far has been a unique flashlight. Isn't that interesting? They could easily, no one would bat an eye if they just released the same 4 flashlights or the same, I guess 3 so far. I don't know if KB's is different, but we've gotten different flashlights each time with different paint apps, different colors. I just think that's cool. But we do have a bunch of great paint work and whatnot. And that's all she comes with. She doesn't have anything else. She doesn't have her shovel she used in the first episode to dig. But, it's fine, I guess. I also don't really remember her having a backpack in the show. I'm sure she did, but it's not anything they've really focused on. And then, of course, she does have a spot on the back for her flashlight. And I think that's really cool. So, again, Fern, looking good. I like her better than I like Wim. But so far, no one's touching my Neel. So moving on, we have the cyborg? KB? I don't know if she's supposed to be a cyborg, but she definitely has like implants on her head. That's it. She is the one we kind of find out the least amount of the show. Like, we don't see anything about KB's home life. Like, we only see snippets of it from Neel, but you get enough. We see whole scenes of Wim and Fern at home, but KB is just sort of relegated to being Fern's sidekick, much like Neel is Wim's sidekick. Fern and KB have a different relationship. They sort of have a lot of like unspoken messages between them, a lot of looks, a lot of nods, or they just kind of know what each other's thinking. I do like that KB's sort of a ride or die, like she's the mechanic for Fern on her bike. That's what she cares about. So I just want to know more about her. And I want to, which is the cool thing. That's what you want. You want to know more about a character that you don't have a lot going for. But again, we've seen the side of her. Well, the back is the same. She's number 5 in the line. But let's go ahead and get her out of this prison. There we go. So here we have KB out of her package. I wonder if KB stands for something. KB Toys. That's all I can think of. But yeah, here is KB out of the package. And again, I like her. She's sort of this mixture in the show between like Tech and Echo, where she's got some robot bits, but she's really good with technology. I can't tell. There's a scene in the second episode where SM-33 is explaining how to pilot the ship, and she just looks at him and goes, "Yep, makes perfect sense." And I couldn't tell if she's being sarcastic or actually understood it. And I like that about her, is you just can't tell. But anyways, this is KB, and again, she looks really good. The face, she's probably got the best likeness on her face now. It probably helps that her eyes are covered. I do think this may be a little bit darker than what we got in the show, but it's hard to tell because the show takes place a lot in dark places. Like, we don't really see much of her in the sunshine. It's always at night or in space or whatever. But like, the hair is good. She's got these little colored streaks through them. On the side, we have, it's shaved for her little cyborg implants. The only thing I do wish in the show, she spends a lot of time with this up as much as down. So I really wish that maybe she'd come with an extra head sculpt. Because just like Fern, she doesn't come with much, which we'll get into. But it really would have been nice if she'd come, if they couldn't make it so this moved, which I understand the limitations based on the size and her sculpt of her hair and stuff. I really do wish that we'd gotten an extra head sculpt with her with this up, because she, in the show, she's wearing her eye thing up as much as she is down. And if I had done this review just based on the figure, I wouldn't know that. So again, I'm glad I have context for these characters. She is just wearing her normal jumpsuit, which there's a lot of detail on, is as plain as the jumpsuit is. There's a lot going on still. We have a lot of molded detail, wrinkles in the fabric, pockets, these little, collar, the little stripes sculpted in, little patches on her shoulders. We have a little paintwork with the tools sticking out of her pockets. On her belt, same kind of thing as Neel, where she's got little things and doodads, a little pocket here. Everything here is painted. Moving down, on her hand, she's got gloves, fingerless gloves, which makes sense, for working on mechanic stuff, so you can still feel things but keep most of your hands warm. The legs, we have little pockets on the jumpsuit legs. Again, this is really kind of a fun jumpsuit. Coming down to the boots, this is actually the first time we can see a character's full shoes of any of the kids. So that's fine, because this is what she's wearing in the show. So it makes sense. All in all, I think the looks are great. And I also like that she's sculpted in a way where her hands and arms just do sit down naturally on her side. And that's something that's missing from a lot of figures, is they all kind of want to stick out. But this is sculpted here on the side to where the arm just does want to lay flat. And I think that's actually pretty cool. So movement wise, it's a lot of the same stuff we've seen before. We have a lot of head movement on the side there. There's no butterfly joints or anything. We do have not a great bend at the elbow. It's right at 90 degrees, I think. And the hands, unlike the other kids, her hands are ball joints. So she joins Jod Na Nawood in having ball jointed hands, where they can move all the way around, not hinged. So I wonder what's going on there. I wonder why, what makes them want to give her ball jointed hands? Is it the sleeves? Well, the other kids have sleeves, so I don't know. It's interesting how she doesn't have hinged hands. She's got ball joints. She's got a decent movement at the waist. She's got okay movement at the hips. This one wants to come back and out a little bit, but it can still go in and out. She does have a thigh swivel, just like the other three kids, or two of the other kids, not Neel. Again, poor Neel, no thigh swivel. She's got a decent bend at the leg as well as a swivel. She's got a hinge at the ankle as well as a rocker. With that being about her widest stance, with both her feet flat on the ground, and that's the widest of any of the kids. So good for her, I guess. So what does KB come with? Well, pretty much the same as Fern. We have the backpack here. It's got some great sculpt work. It's a unique backpack again. So unlike any of the other kids, it's got a unique sculpt. It's got some decent paint work on the straps as well as on the back. So more paint than Fern's bag, but not as much paint as I think both Wim or Neel. And again, I don't really remember her wearing a backpack in the show. I have to go back and rewatch it and pay attention to these little things, but I just do not remember her actually ever wearing a backpack anytime in the first two episodes. So it's really hard to kind of picture it. I'm not complaining. Like, she looks good with the backpack on. It's a nice pop of color on what's otherwise a pretty drab looking figure, just because she's wearing a jumpsuit, because she is sort of a mechanic. So it makes sense. But I like that it's got a little pop of color for her, because she is still a girl. That makes sense. And then, of course, she does have, again, another unique flashlight. Not a reuse of any flashlight we've seen, with some decent paintwork. This one is kind of a dark red, which is just really nice. And then it does fit right in her backpack. So again, she's got storage for her flashlight, which I like, but she doesn't come with anything else. And I think more than any of the other figures, she really should have come with that alternate head. But other than that, I think I like her just under my little baby Neel. So it goes Neel, KB, and then Fern, with Wim being my least favorite of these kids in terms of their toys. All right, And then last but not least, the one that we've all been waiting for the most. The only figure that I absolutely 100% needed in my collection for the wave. The one I know is going to be in my top 10 for the year just by looking at it is Pirate Captain Brutus, Port Borgo. Now, if you've watched the show, the first 2 episodes, you'll know that he's in both episodes, and you see him go from being what looks like the first mate to the pirate captain, which is a fun little, I don't know, story without actually having a lot of story around him. And it's cool that we have this, but there are so many other aliens in this pirate crew. I want them all. There's that one that's in The Mandalorian season 3, the pirate from there. I want him. I want Jaleel White's pirate. There's just like you blink in Port Borgo, you can pause it, and I want every pirate here. I need them. I want every pirate. I love that we're getting this really cool aesthetic of pirates. Now, looking at the box, he's number 6, of course. We've taken a look at the side. I've read the back. There's nothing specifically about Pirate Captain Brutus on here because it's that generic blurb. So let's go ahead and free him from his plastic brig. There we go. And here we have Brutus out of his package. And you know, it's one of those things, I kind of wish he had a different name. I don't hate the name Brutus. I just feel like it's a little bit on the nose for being, you know, a bad guy. Like, oh, sure, the big tough mean looking guy's name is Brutus. Sure it is. Why not? I also don't know if he is a Shistovanian wolfman like my boy Lax Sivrak, or if he's like Arleal Shoes, who's a different wolfman. Or if maybe he's a third different kind of wolfman. Either way, we have a wolfman in the Black Series, and that's really what matters here. And he is just a rad looking pirate dude. So first, his face is just phenomenal. Just absolutely phenomenal. I absolutely love everything about it. He's got this mean snarl. He's got really great sculpting. The hair work, the ears, the neck down here, the teeth, the eyes. I love everything about how this guy looks. This is a cool looking dude. Moving down, again, there's a lot of paint work on here and a lot of sculpt work. You can clearly see that this is where the all the budget for the wave went. And that's actually, you know, say what you want about the rest of the wave. Everything here has been 100% new tooling. Everything has been new tooling. There hasn't been one reused tooling among any of these that I've seen, down to the backpacks and the flashlights. Maybe no, not even really the walkie-talkies. Like everything has been unique. Anyways, moving down from the head, this is an overlay here. It's got a lot of give to it, so it's sort of just it's over a very kind of plain looking shirt, which has a lot of sculpt. There's a lot of sculpt work in the shirt underneath, but then it's like armored. He has like these feathers and leather pieces, a lot of sculpt in here, little hangy flaps, little leather tassels, a lot of paint. He's got a little paint there. I like the little collar kind of popping over on here. He's got some holsters, which we'll get into. Moving down his arm, same kind of thing. Like his arm looks like it's like a pirate shirt. He's got these little stripes, a little cord going around here, and then there's actually dirt going down to the sleeve, down to a nicely painted and sculpted sharp hand claw. Now I wish the fingertips had been painted, because I'm pretty sure we see in the show is like nails. The claws are actually darker, but there's a lot here going on, so I'm going to forgive it there. Then we have the same thing coming down the other arm. Coming down to the belt, again, there's a lot going on here. We got layers. We got tons of layers. A lot of paint work, A lot of little doodads, holsters, a lot of splotchiness and dirt on his little kind of skirt area. It looks like it could come off. It looks like it detaches here. I'm not going to detach it on mine, but it looks like it could if you wanted to. In fact, can you lower it a bit? So I've got one little complaint, and I'll get into that in just a bit. But again, we have the holster coming down to his leg. The legs are nothing to write home about in terms of really anything interesting. It's just a leg with some pants sculpted on. But the boots are really nice. We have this nice paint apps on the boots here coming down to the shoe. I really like that they have like these little kind of straps coming back here. I like this a lot. My only problem with however they've constructed this figure, it makes the torso feel too long, like disproportionately long. Like it feels like he has a long waist. Like from here to here it just feels too long. And it's not something you really notice unless you're messing around with them, because standing there it's fine, but they're just angles where you're messing with them, and this whole thing just feels like it's just a hair too long. And I think it has to do with the belt positioning and kind of how far down the crotch comes. Like I just feel like he's mostly upper chest. Like this whole midsection should be just a little bit more squat, I think. Whatever. It's fine. But yeah, so talking about, how he moves, he does have a decent range of motion on his neck and head. There's not a lot of hindrances based on the sculpt, which is nice. He does have a decent amount of butterfly joints. Now, it's not a ball joint butterfly joint, so it only goes back and forth instead of up and down. He does have a decent movement at the arm. He does have, it looks like, a ball joint at the wrist here. Yeah, so both the wrists are on a ball joint, which is nice. He's got a decent torso movement because he's got a lot of torso to move. So that's good. He doesn't have an upper thigh swivel, but his legs do move forwards and backwards. It's a little hindered by his waistcoat, but that's fine. He's got a really good bend at the knee, as well as a swivel. And then, of course, he does have a hinge at the ankle, as well as the rocker. With that being about his widest stance with both his feet flat on the ground, and that's mostly because of his hip skirts. That's keeping it from going wider. It's because of the molded plastic. But I think molded plastic here was a good choice. I don't think I would have wanted them to do soft goods. I think sculpted plastic was the right choice. So, what does Pirate Captain Brutus come with? And the answer is a lot, but they're all kind of the same thing. But they're different. But they're all kind of the same thing. It comes with 5 blasters here. And like I said, each one is different. We have this like Klingon disruptor looking one. Again, lots of great paint apps on here. Lots of great sculpting. We've got this one, which looks more like a little, I don't know. I like the little ending blaster part. But this has got a good a classic sci-fi look to it. I like it. Lots. Again, all of these have great sculpting and great paint work. And then we have a couple more like piratey blasters. Now, this is the one from Jod Na Nawood. So I was curious to see if there was any reuse here. And this one's close, but it's not the same. And that's the only one that could be close. So again, this blaster that came with Jod is different from the blasters that come with Brutus here, and there's no overlap, so that's good. So we got a couple of little ones here. Again, they're just fun little pistols. I really like these. The question is, what goes where? How do you tell what goes where? Just kind of going on basic size. We've got this kind of main hip, and I'm assuming this one is supposed to be one of the bigger ones. So let's just put it in, see if it fits. And if it fits, it sits. That's the rule. So like that looks fine there. That looks good there. So like I think that looks fine there. Let's see here. We have this little one back here, and I think think that one's gonna go there. And I think this one's gonna go here. And let's do this one back here. So I think that's how I'm gonna have him. But I don't know if there's any rules. I haven't checked to see what he looks like on like the official Hasbro images. But I think that looks fine. Like that looks like a pirate. So what it looks like to me, and this is classic pirate stuff, like, you know, as he murders people, he's just picking up guns he finds and puts them on his body. Like he's basically a video game character where he's just picking up random stuff off the ground to shoot people with. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I really can't say more about this and how much I love this. It's so good. It's not perfect, but it's there. It's getting there. So let's bring them all together real quick. So here we have, you know, the kids. I wanted to get them all together to get a good shot of them. I really do think that they all look great as they are. I mean, I have little nitpicks with all of them, except for little Neel. Little Neel's perfect. But if you had told me at the beginning of the year that we would be getting 5 characters this year, 5 child characters this year with backpacks, I would have believed you, but it's still weird. It's really weird that, you know, we've gone, what, 12 years? 11 years in the Black Series, and it just in 1 year we just got a bunch of kids with backpacks on. And if you want to include it, I would even include Gree here. Technically, he's a kid, and he's got a Yoda backpack, but that doesn't really count. I really do like the figures. I like the kids. I think, like I said earlier, my order in which I like them is going to be Neel, KB, Fern, and then Wim, just in terms of, you know, their looks and who they are. And maybe I switched KB and Fern around. I like them both about equally. I think Wim is easily the worst of all of them. Neel is my little chubby pumpkin blueberry elephant boy, and I just absolutely love that. If I were to give them a score, I'm gonna give him like a 4.5 out of 5. I really like him. He's gonna be closer to like a 3 out of 5. Fern's probably gonna be like the only thing that's really a problem with Fern and KB is just their lack of accessories, especially compared to these two. I'm gonna give Fern like a 4 out of 5, and same with KB. I'm going to give them about the same score. I think they look really good. They've got a lot of pluses. They're surprisingly good figures. And again, like I said, I'm really happy I waited to do this review after just knowing who they are and caring about them, because I wouldn't have cared about anyone here except for Neel without them. And now I care about all of them to the point where it makes me a little upset that he doesn't look as accurate as he should. But I think that the kids look great. But the non-surprising one for me is actually Brutus here. Brutus gets, I don't know, I'm going to give him a 4.75 out of 5. Maybe a 4.5 out of 5 to match Neel. The torso thing does bug me a little bit, but he's so good. He's just really good. He's got all the hallmarks that I love. He's an alien. He's a pirate. He's got a good aesthetic. Comes with a bunch of stuff. Hasbro knocked it out of the park, for sure. But I do have to say, the one that surprised me the most is Jod. I still hate his name. Hate his name to death. But I really think that he looks good. Like, he looks like a pirate, and I like that. I like that about him. I do wish that his little headscarf thing didn't suck so much. But yeah, I'm gonna give him probably a 4 out of 5. I really do like him a lot. And that's what surprised me is I was expecting to be bored by him, and I wasn't. I wasn't bored by him at all. So this is your skeleton crew. Let me know what you think. I'm definitely looking forward to SM33. Pipelined, he's going to come out. Definitely buying him. So far, the only other figures I really want, like I don't ever want like Wim's dad or Fern's mom. Like I don't care about owning those figures at all. I don't even necessarily want Wim and Neel in their like school outfits. Like these outfits are fine, but I definitely want pretty much anyone in Porto Borgo. 100% want all of those. And I'm assuming we'll see some more cool characters in the next couple episodes. So there's a lot to look forward to here. But for the first 2 episodes, I feel like this is a really good representation of what we've gotten. And Hasbro's done a great job. And the show is delightful. Listen, I'm not saying you have to like it, but I don't see how anyone could hate it. If you hate the show, I just don't know how you can go through life being that miserable. It might not be your cup of tea. It 100% is my cup of tea. I love this show so much. It's everything I wanted and more. It's stuff I didn't even know I wanted. So I'm glad it's here. I'm glad we got it. Hopefully it finishes strong. But these figures are great. And that's it. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Do you like the show? Do you like these figures? Are you passing on them? Are you just getting the Wolfman? Are you getting them all? If I had to make any suggestion, Wolfman 100% a pickup, Jod a surprising pickup, and of course Neel. The problem is, it's like the Ninja Turtles. How do you get just one kid? Like if you like the show, I mean, I can see just getting Neel, putting him in your collection as like an alien. But like I feel like you can't just get one, you got to get them all. And it's my Ninja Turtle problem. Like how do you get just Michelangelo and not Donatello, Raphael, and Leonardo? That's his name. Anyways, let me know down the downstairs area. I love to read and respond to comments when I can. I also want to thank these people here for supporting me on my YouTube channel membership. It means a lot to me that these people have supported my channel monetarily. If you want to see your name in this list, you can hit that join button. It helps out a lot. But if you don't want to, honestly, that's fine. Just liking, sharing, and subscribing is enough. And with that, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for getting this far. And I will see you later, hopefully in the next couple days, because I still have a lot of videos to get out before the end of the year. Also, don't forget to listen to Black Series Cantina, where we're talking about all this stuff as well. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for getting this far. And I'll see you later. Bye.